Good afternoon. So today I will be reviewing the posters of my students, and this video is in support of the call for open educational resources. So in Philippine Science High School, we have three types of poster. The three types of posters are only in Western Visayas campus, considering the kind of projects that we are doing in response to communicating our reports to the community. And so, these posters were named after the the Community-Based Science Research Congress. This one is the so-called headline poster. This was first introduced last year as the third type of poster in order to ensure that our participants can easily choose the posters from among the different posters. So we usually prepare three boards placed over the other. So when there is a participant interested of one poster, the researchers or the presenters would simply decide if the community poster or the infographic type or the technical poster. So it is dependent on how in depth the question is. So for these types of poster, this is from the study a novel application of a compound convex hemispherical lens configuration for a 3-5 tandem in GAP-GAAS GE multi-junction solar cell. This is also available in the Public Science website. So you can just visit www.publicscience.org. Now, as as a researcher, one has to go through the poster presentation prior to the making of the the research article, since one needs to elicit suggestions or probably to have feedback, since uh, full-blown study cannot be simply reviewed by everyone, then probably the research poster presentation would would elicit this information. Other than that, it can also be a means by which one can disseminate the result of the study. So this is the case of a headline poster. A headline poster because you need to provide a headline, since students would usually present their project, and the participants would actually read the title. However, the title in a technical poster would discourage some participants in asking questions. And so for instance, in this case, we have three lens system increases the power of the solar cell. So the statement alone would provide the participants the necessary triggers for them to ask, is there such a thing as a three lens system? Second, how can a system increase the efficiency of the solar cell? And then, as you can see, because this is a technology-based uh, research, a picture of researchers doing it and the setup would actually provide them a curiosity to ask the presenters what are these things, and then what are they doing, and where could this be happening. And then, as you can see, the second type of poster, which is more of an infographic. So, but if you have a scientific poster, we can simply provide an infographic which is standalone, but rather it's on a form of a story whereby the elementary pupils or the elementary learners can actually relate. So it's cartoonish, and then you will notice that it provides the rationale in a simple manner, and then it just tells a story. So normally it's like a comics. Whereas in the case of a technical poster, you already have here the title, the background, the aims and the objectives, the significance of the study, the methods, as just like any other posters. So in our case, in order to make our research studies more approachable to the public, then we have all these types of posters with the hope that once they get into the study, they will read our research article, because the the information can be read in the website, and eventually if they'd like to know more, then we have the full manuscript, but it is available upon request. So in this year's poster presentation, my learners asked me to review their work, and so this is already the second draft. All right, now as you can see, they were already informed about the principles on how to prepare a poster. So for this poster, I would simply comment that, of course, there must be a balance between what is good and the areas to be improved. And normally, I would declare to my students that all my reviews are not necessarily to be followed, because I don't know exactly what are the circumstances in the preparation of the research poster, especially this one, the headline poster. Whenever possible, I really don't like posters which are designed with so many lines. There is this principle of strained eyeballs, because unconsciously, when participants have to read the title from left to right, so many times. So in this case, expect more. So that's one idea. Rainy days, another idea. During Habagat season, it's like this. If only our construct in reading would entail top to bottom, then it's good because we are used to it. But since ours is patterned after that of the Western, where we read from left to right, top to bottom, then this would be an issue. Now, as you can see, if one has to look at this poster, well, I might be focused on the airplane and the background and the airport. And then it's later on that I would actually realize that it has something to do with the droplets or the rain. Ayan. And as you can see, the highlight is that of dark. I understand that there must be a contrast of dark and light colors. However, as you can see, they highlight using the the light colored one rather than for them to reverse it. So anyway, it's their choice, and for them it's good. However, I would like to remind my learners that you might be happy of your poster, but you still have to ask yourself, are the participants or the viewers of your posters happy, quote unquote? When we speak of happiness, it deals more on what others can learn from your poster, because this is a research activity geared towards what they can learn from attending the poster presentation. So hopefully they will look into it, what is necessarily the focus of their study. Although this is a creative way of presenting the water droplets and things like that. But as a headline or newsworthy, I still suggest that they have to look into a picture of, for instance, flooding which is the effect of rain days. I think it illustrates what is newsworthy about your study. We'll proceed to headline poster number 2, Lampunaya ineffective as tilapia pesticide. The goal of this study is, I mean, the event is for the school's consumption. So the school is located in central part of the Philippines, and everyone is familiar of lampunaya as well as tilapia. However, if this is for international poster presentation, then we remind our students to use scientific names. So in this case, we simply allow them. So lampunaya ineffective as tilapia pesticide. I think it presents a negative result, although we always emphasize that a negative result is still a result, but I think this can still be improved. I will go back, and then I don't know if this lampunaya is also the exact lampunaya used in order to be used as a pesticide. Probably they can look into um, something newsworthy in presenting the poster. And then for the third one, this is humic acid combined with fertilizer improves plant growth and yield. This is a classic example of the use of color, where, as you can see, the text scholars determine the an organic fertilizer. One has to really focus more in order to see it. I don't know if why can't the maker of this poster come up with something like um, having to use light colored text and then use yellow instead. Yeah, combine effects. I don't, probably one can recall what should be really highlighted in the byline of the headline text. Humic acid combined with fertilizer improves plant growth and yield. Probably their plant is this one as a plant material in testing, but then, well, the plant shows the growth. Other than that, I don't know if this would really capture the attention of uh, of the readers. But anyway, the picture is good. But for the text, if one has to present a newsworthy um, headline, then probably they can discuss how much is the growth and how much is the yield to be newsworthy. Like, for example, if the yield is 10%, then they can report it as that. But is it newsworthy? Rather than presenting it like humic acid with fertilizer improves yield by um, threefolds, something like that. And then those who are into planting kangkong probably would think and be interested. How did you do that? And how much is the growth? So there must be an element of newsworthy in, I mean, tagline and byline, so that the participants would be more interested of reading the poster and asking questions. So most likely, if this is in a physical setup and they get to see the pictures as well as the the headline, then they will just simply pass by. So they can still actually improve on this. And how about this one? sodium lactate as preservative to green mussel meat. It is purely a declarative statement. However, this can be rephrased such that I don't know exactly the details, but probably a green mussel meat can already be preserved for like 30 years. I mean, they also have to present truthfully, but I mean, what is newsworthy about your your result? Ayan. So, normally, we can store the green mussel meat, but I mean, in this case, by how much that it really be newsworthy. Maganda yung pagkakalagay nila dito ng poster nila na gumamit sila ng they use the tahong meat, and then ayan, and then it would encourage the participants to read more, because when posters are displayed, unlike this time that it is virtual, when posters are displayed side by side with each other, the first thing that would capture the attention of the audience would be the the picture. So it is important that one has to come up with a picture that could capture the audience to dig deeper or to approach the poster. And then that would be followed by the headline texts. So if they are triggered by the the text of the headline, then what comes next would be to read the byline. And eventually, they would ask the presenters and delve more about the research project. So it's important that we catch the attention of our participants. All right. How about this one? Well, the picture is very good, considering that when you present something which is yellowish and which is unknown, then one might be interested actually to ask, what is that? So from there, they might ask the presenter, Mano or Mana, what is this? Something like that. And then you actually have a springboard of discussion. So normally, there is this technique used in preparing posters, like um, is it a picture worthy of conversation? When you present a picture. So like for example, a while ago, I mentioned about the kangkong. So when you present kangkong, which is already familiar in the scope of the intended participants, so what is something new about it? However, if there is something unfamiliar, you present it in a manner that it is familiar. So you contrast familiarity and unfamiliarity. Or you can actually commodify something which is not familiar and present to the public in arousing their curiosity about the the picture. So in this case, the background is grayish or and whitish, and then they use white, although they use the so-called transparency, yet it does not really capture. I mean, it would be hard for participants to read the text, but I can tell that the image is good, but the the color scheme for the text should be improved. I think this has something to do with the making of gel. So there's a gap or issue on how gel is formed and for the incorporation. So if it has incorporated, what is newsworthy about the incorporation that others have not done before? So this is a technique which entails surpassing what others had done before. So like for example, in a running event, we usually tell them that a runner has made a new record. So what is this new record in incorporating your antibacterial gel? So probably you can improve your headline text. Now how about this one? I love the picture considering that as you can see, uh, red would normally evoke emotion from among the readers, and then mango cover reduced. However, this can still be improved kasi when you speak reduced, yes, it doesn't evoke that emotion in the participants of a poster presentation event, considering that it has been, I mean, we are already desensitized of the idea that it is reduced. I mean, there is degradation after all. Take for example the use of the climate change label and the climate crisis level, because we present it as a climate change, then normally we believe that, yeah, it's just normal because the climate is changing. But when you present climate as a crisis, it evokes urgency and one has to act because it's a crisis. Crisis leans towards the negative. But when you present climate as a change, it might be taken by everyone, well, it's normal that the climate has to change. Something like that. So, in this case, if they wanted to present the extent of the reduction, I think this would evoke more emotion na pang headline talaga siya when you have a picture of how it was in the past and how it is now by showing actually the difference. I don't know exactly why these pictures are provided. Is it actually to inform us that these are the mangroves? So can you at least show to us how the reduction happens over time? And then they might be interested more of the methods by which you used. So just present it. I mean, what is newsworthy about the reduction of the mangrove cover? Is it a fast degradation? Something like that. But I love the picture. I don't actually um, understand. Probably I need to hear from you why this picture should be presented here. I mean, is it actually to arouse the participants' interest to ask about? I don't think so. Ayan. In this case, hydropriming accelerates the germination of rice seeds in saline conditions. So I think there is something more newsworthy if the headline focuses more on the changes of the hydropriming. I mean, the picture in itself should show the effect over time. And then, what are these conditions? So, probably you can choose one condition and show to them how um, that the technique would accelerate the germination. Like, there must be a time element here, and the picture should show it. I mean, if you present to me someone plowing the field, it, it, it doesn't speak of hydropriming actually, right? rather than by showing to them the setup in a time interval and how seeds would germinate in these different conditions. So it would start actually some sort of springboard of discussion between you and the participants. And I also don't know what are these orange circle. This one is a creative way of presenting picture. However, there is a trigger warning in this picture. Well, it is creative in a sense that we don't normally see eggshell as our pot, but then this time you can see that it grows in an eggshell. However, in this case, eggshell as a fertilizer. The headline is so dry. And then this one should be incorporated here as the headline. But what is the significant improvement on the plant growth reported? It's so dry because, well, does it arouse enough curiosity in your on the part of the participant for them to actually ask questions? What really improved significantly? By how much? And why not report it right away? So that they might be interested. Like for instance, if the technique really improved the growth, nag-grow siya in a matter of 1 day, and you were able to come up with this yield. Ayan. Another thing is the use of hand here, because using your hand and present it to the public might be a trigger for those who have phobia. So it is not actually encouraged in posters those hands that are partly shown. Kasi it connotes disability. Yan, mga putol na kamay, something like that. So if you have that, can't you just present that you have a plant growing in an eggshell and remove the hands? Because sometimes participants might think that this has something to do with balancing. But if you remove the hands, you also make it more focused. So that is why, as much as possible, if you have so many elements in a poster, you better have to remove them so that they the participants or the viewer can focus exactly on what you want to focus. So in this case, pag wala yung hands, their attention would be directed either to the plants or to the eggshell. So in this case, why not have your eggshell in a background contrasting the green? So in this case, our attention is on the background but not necessarily the shell. So parang we still have to undergo a second look for us to understand that your focus is on the eggshell. Remember, it's your responsibility to provide focus. Since we have this split second decision among the participants in an poster exhibition area, saan ba babaling yung attention niya? So, to where should one um, check with so many posters? This is a consideration, especially in conferences with hundreds of posters. In this case, 31% of the Asin watershed is at high to very severe of soil erosion. You provide a figure here, but the figure here might not be necessarily be understood in a context of by how much overall niyan yung cover niya. Kasi although I will understand that this is in terms of the totality, since the value is in percentage, well, this has the headline material, high to very severe risk of soil erosion. Again, the use of high and very severe may necessarily be alarming, yet I don't know if how can still how can you still improve it so that the alarm may be raised to another level. But if you think that this is already the the final one, then good. The use of black in this red will actually make it difficult for readers to. And then you still have your keyboard, you still have all these folders. I don't know if it speaks of, I mean, if you are talking about soil erosion, why not post picture here of an eroding soil in the watershed so that it is more graphic rather than when it is presented in in a computer screen, which is just a simulation. Now, how about this one? Malunggay fighting potential TPP enzyme inhibitors. Um, the poster is so dark. Sorry, children. Malunggay phytochemicals potential TPP enzyme inhibitors. And then, it's very dry for me. What is the headline material of the title? I think you still have to improve. The the poster is interesting for science-oriented participants, but I mean in a public setting, one might actually think, ano pwedeng, ano to? Parang something like that. So if it has something to do with computer graphics and animation, those who are inclined to it may go here i- and be interested. However, how about others? Ayan. So this is something mundane for them to grasp, and they might shy away. So you really have to strike the balance between those who are not inclined to this area or discipline and make it more quote unquote approachable. So yun tinatawag natin na we limanize it as much as possible. All right. I simply opened up to 21. By the way, this is how we do it. Normally, we have three drafts. The first draft, and we let them actually come up with a peer review. Then we have the second draft or the pre-final draft, and then the final draft. So I ended up with 20. So I'll have the 21. I'll open the 21. I'll open the remaining posters, headline posters. Okay. To continue, this one has a header already, but it is placed here at the bottom. This is about microplastic present in oysters. So if you are presenting something newsworthy, you don't present it like in a garland. Why not present that an oyster where the plastic protrudes as much as possible? It is newsworthy if you report something to the public that there is a pubic hair in cake or in any food. But if you present it like this, then the focus becomes um, divergent. But if you can actually show here your oyster in flesh and then magnify that part where there is this microplastic. So I think this is something newsworthy. I think there were already studies in the past proving that there are already microplastics in oysters. But what would you like to report about microplastics present in oyster which were not reported in the past? Or would you like to present that the microplastics are already present in oysters of depending on the scope of the study where you check the presence of your your microplastics in oysters. Yeah, the contrast and the color are very good, but this is something one has to consider where some texts are already covered by the picture. So what is your priority? Is it the picture or the text? Or should there be a balance on how you place your text and your pictures in a poster? This one langka shows positive larvicidal activity. Well, this one is interesting, um, but by how much? So, for example, a brand of soap touting this Consentia can kill bacteria by 99.99%, something like that. I don't know what you mean by positive larvicidal activity because your study might be contrasting, and what does it mean for a layperson to think about positive larvicidal activity? Positive in a sense that it can kill them or what? And then this one is too small for them actually to see. So if you provide something that cannot be seen, or if the text cannot be read, then I don't know what is the point of having it in your poster. I think I mentioned that rather than this very dry headline, you tell them if you found a new species of gastropod in the area. Ayan. So, or what is interesting or newsworthy about the barcodes of these gastropods? How many new species are determined or are suspected to be a new species subject for confirmation? Like you present it like there are two new species of gastropods in this particular area. So probably you put the context where is that exactly? Because by telling them Halao, but where is Halao River? So a map probably of the Halao River with respect to as a geographical area relevant to us. Like for example, our intended audience are the lower years. So probably a picture of the entire province of Iloilo and the river system of Halaor, where Pisay is located, because they can identify where Pisay is and where is this um, study area in the Halaor River. So that and then that's the time that you provide pictures. So I think it would be more interesting if you show all these species of gastropods or one particular gastropod you suspect to be a new one. I still don't know if the result showed to us that there are new species of gastropods. Now, how about this one? The picture is actually exciting, but I think this is the outline of a smartphone. Agricultural waste for oil spill cleanup. The picture is crisp. I like the picture, but we still have to check if is this a headline material? Yan. Or would you like actually the exact um, material used in order to clean up, which shows that this one really absorbs the oil. I mean, by how much? So, did you come up with a record? You simply tell us dryly that agricultural waste for oils still clean up, or it can actually uh, clean up. But I don't know what is newsworthy about it. It's too broad also. Ayan. How about this one? Remote sensing, remote sensing the changes of mango forest land cover. And then, this one is Instagram worthy. Parang gusto ko siyang ilagay sa isang poster and then ikabit siya sa wall. Yan. Or probably I'm just used to images in a photojournalism where the picture evokes emotion. So parang it's so calm, like I feel like going to a retreat and looking at it will evoke that calm and serenity in me. So if this is about the change in the mangrove forest, you tell them what is newsworthy. You can also present it positively, like there is an accretion of mangrove cover by this match, na promising, which is newsworthy, worthy to be celebrated. Well, I like the picture. Lingbia, Majuscu, Lagros, Bet. But the question is, when you present your audience in a public presentation with the scientific name, well, it's a good practice. However, you tell us exactly what is its local name first. Okay, and then we'll proceed next to 25. Then amplified gate powered electric harvester modified operation mode. Can you make it more appealing to a layperson by telling us that stepping on uh, a shoe, something like that, or by how much can be harvested. So this one is too technical, or probably you can have your basic illustration. This one, the microwave assisted method yields a high amount of cellulose. I don't know if you highlight the method or you highlight the result. Let me check. You use actually a gray background and then you use white text. But what is newsworthy about the greater results? Probably from your end, as the author of the study, you understand the context, but your audience may not know in what context they can compare your result with what. Like, for example, if we are doing a water quality test, you normally would claim that it has passed the standardized test. Or you may say that we have 100% passing. So it is something newsworthy. Well, this one is so generic that probably you can change that into something better, such that the what about the shoreline change? So you can claim here that what is newsworthy, that the entire Tigbawan will be inundated by flood in 2030. So that is something newsworthy. When the audience would see it, really, will that really happen? Although we don't really have to present the 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 picture na parang Armageddon-like siya, but we present it based from our data. So you tell us the change. Is the change something positive or negative? And if it is positive or negative, you tell us. And then the 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 urgency of the matter, probably because it has something to do with change. So change connotes uh, time element or time factor. So that is why we have here the projection. So ano mangyayari in 2030 and 2040? So parang may Nostradamus siya na pag na projection. Pero if you tell them na you calculated and mapped, so what? Others are mapping and calculating also the change. But what is newsworthy about the shoreline change? Anong change na may bago? Would you like to focus the entire or probably a particular area? Or is there an area that might not be visible or livable anymore by 2030 or 2040? Ayan. That I like the image. Yeah. This picture is a very good picture considering that we I mean that the audience would be interested to know what is the green liquid all about, what is being poured, and then this is purely a headline intended for probably a science magazine where you have a green solution. Ayan. But if you remove a green solution and focus more on Montiglia Calabura, but again, this is not understood by students as deterrent to toxic fumes. Yan. I think because I happen to be the advisor, probably students in Pisay formulated wag mo munang sasabihin, I mean, you don't tell first your audience what you did to the oil in order for it, yan. Or probably, we highlight more on um, preventing the release of cancer-causing emissions, something like that. So I don't know what we would like to highlight here, which is something newsworthy that we solved a research gap or because we developed something new. So in preparing posters, we can actually come up with what focus that would give more curiosity on the part of our audience. So the picture is good enough, but then in terms of text, I think it has to be improved. Now, how about this one? This is about rice husk, but first glance test, one might think that these are kalkag, and then I mean, what are these pictures all about? And then you better have to tell me. So what if a rice husk is capable of filtering salt water? So are we looking for forward of the time that the ocean are no longer salty because rice husk would filter all of them? Ayan. You better have to come up with something newsworthy, and either the picture supports the text or the text would complement the picture. But again, in any poster presentation, we are after of the visual aspect. So the picture should really evoke action that you wanted from the audience. So you better have to ask this question every time. For this one, irregular changes in convergence times from data size and expectation. So, ayan. So, very technical yung information. For those who are inclined into programming, probably this might be exciting. But how about for those who are not into it? Well, this one is a dialog box which prompts one if there's an error. Now, you have here a tagline or a byline rather, serves as a basis for research and benchmark for modern computers. Or, what about if you present as a matter of discovery? So, what have you discovered or what have you developed out of this? So, that would be more interesting and more newsworthy to be presented to the public. And then, ayan. So, for this video, we will only have the headline. So, I would like to watch out for community poster. And with that,